Shma Naskoto facilitator Niya Gashi Ape Nakaya Hazia Pesha Clinic Darren Franklin yeah Udina Shiyadot Upon the introduction of presenters and guests session on in Linigi Board of Education Private in Chicago. The president of our board is Dr. Pauline Begay from Chinli. The vice president of the board is Gloria Johns. Our secretary is Marlene Burbank from Chinli. She's not here also. And a board member from Eastern Agency, Dolly C. Begay, she made it all the way from Gallup area this morning. The other members include Benny Begay out of the Chinli Agency, another member from Western Agency, Dolores Gray Eyes. Patrick Lynch out of Fort Defiance. The Board of Education, 5 of them are elected, 3 of them were appointed by the president of the Navajo Nation. Timothy Benali. When Andrew Tarr resigned in January of 2014, he was the acting superintendent for almost a year. And then I have Mr. Alan Blacksheep, from works with the Office of School Improvement. And then the ladies over here who are helping with registration work within my office, Pauletta Sosi and Libby Brown. And then from the Advanced Ed Department, we have Dr. Anselm Davis. Oh, way up there. Give that man a big hand. He works hard with NCA accreditation. And also with the Office of Language and Culture, Dr. Ansita Benali. Evelyn Bahi with NCA office. I saw Sam Yazi here earlier, all the way from Tehilin. He drove all the way from over there. And then it has Tommy Lewis Jr. Dilcon, I don't know the things in the whole year. The kid is more than any gibbous to cheat. The chance to look at the Yala, Leroy Yazi, the arch of the kid on it, the hair. Out there, also Shaya, but this is it. But as an again, 3 one that you is can you help us move it back and put the screen bigger? If you can, please. So that this screen can be closer. It's too far back. And I want to start by talking about the Treaty of 1868. Not all tribes throughout the United States have treaties. We're very fortunate that we have a treaty with the United States government. The Hopi Nation, I understand, doesn't have a treaty. But this treaty is to an agreement between the federal government and the Navajo Nation on how we should abide by federal law. Education has undergone. I will provide a teacher for every 30 students. So the Navajo Nation the government has trust responsibilities, a federal obligation to help us. Because we live on trust land, there's no tax base. And that's why we're heavily dependent on the federal government. Tax. Property tax Washington, we're heavily dependent on that treaty. Within the United States government, you have a president, and there are 12 cabinets. 12 for a president. There's an office there called the Department of Interior. Department of Interior is quite large. Takes care of land management, forestry. Without the whole United States, within the Interior, Department of Interior, there's a Bureau of Indian Affairs. So we're in competition with all these other components of Interior that are just as important. So, Interior, BIA, way back in time, from 1860, as we came along, the government began to take its current shape. It took a long time for it to get to where we're at. And BIA, Washington, it was from the treaty. So it started. The government probably didn't even know how to run schools way back then. So church, Chicago, no, she does. That's how you have church schools on our nation. Some of them are Catholic churches, Presbyterian. But 1921, the Snyder Act was and Washington, and but right about that time, because of disease, illnesses, malnutrition, you name it. We're doing a lousy job. These Indian people are suffering throughout the country. That's what the government said. They finally realized that there's a big problem right here. There was a wake-up call. 7 years later, Merriam report was that investigated failed U.S. policy on Indians. They realized that they were doing a lousy job. So that's very historic. In 1934, the Johnson-O'Malley Act was passed. Public schools in public schools, there's a lot of fees. All these other schools. When you're going to enroll your child in a public school system, especially at high school, there's all kinds of fees, lab fees, this fee, class fee, PE, many things. It takes about $300 to enroll a child in a public school. So if you have 3 or 4 kids going to a public school, that can become very costly. People make a national campaign. Government, we need your help. And then in 1940, impact aid money. Impact aid, money in lieu of taxes. Like I said, we live on federal land. There's no property base here. Property taxes then. Locally. So we have to look to the government. Public schools right now on Navajo, we have 265 schools on Navajo, roughly 86,000 students, kindergarten through 12th grade. That's how many students we have on Navajo. That's a significant amount of students. By the way, majority of the students, 80%, they're in the public school system. Parents made a choice to send their children to the public school for many reasons. The perception is that they're doing a better job over there. It may be true or it may not be. To me, it's a good program. Impact aid by him. Winslow School District receives it. Chinle Unified School District, Tuba City Unified District, Red Mesa. They're heavily dependent on impact aid. 1969, a special Senate subcommittee on Indian education issues a report called Indian Education, a National Tragedy.